Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here. Before we get going, one quick announcement. I'm actually going to be mostly AFK for the rest of the month as I'm finally going back to Japan after 3 long years. So with lots to do, people and places to see, and a lot of soul searching to do, videos and likely streams are going to be taking a brief break until the start of June. I'll see about working in something here and there if I can, but I just really need to focus my energies on reconnecting. But fret not, because when I get back, I'm gonna have so much to talk about in streams and videos, you're gonna be telling me to shut the heck up. But before I head out, there's something, well, 3 things actually, that I've gotta get out in a video or my little cultural analysis brain will never forgive me while I'm abroad. And they all come from the most recent 2 episodes of Kimetsu no Yaiba.
What? Again? Man, how many of these videos are we gonna do for this series? Lordy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? When's it gonna be enough?
Well, this season needs to quit being so subtle and sublime with its cultural references then. As long as this show keeps cranking up folklore to explore, I'm gonna keep cranking up these videos. And the last 2 episodes that dropped, A Sword from over 300 years ago, and Thank You Tokito, I was set friction fire to my keyboard trying to get down every connection, every reference, just everything that I could find within these 40 some odd minutes. So let's not waste any more time and get right to it. First off, let's dig into the Katana Kaji no Sato, or Swordsmith's Village at the arc's beginning. Because it's here I finally get to talk about a highly recognizable yet highly misrepresented icon of Japanese culture, Hyotoko. Previous to this arc, we've seen a bunch of different characters in different masks, Tanjiro included, but I only ever lightly touched on their symbolic meaning and how it relates to each character.
Actually, we only talked about Sakonji Urokodaki back in the Tenku video we did about 3 years ago.
Okay, well, all the more reason to rectify that now. So the main gimmick of this village is that everyone goes around with a Hyotoko mask on their face, canonically so that they can protect their identity as they're the soulsmiths of the Nichiren blades that the Slayers used to kill Oni. But why this mask of all things? It's a little off-putting for something that looks this goofy to be identifiable with such a serious aspect of this very serious show. So to answer that, we need to dig into the long and very confusing history behind the Hyotoko mask. In my research, the first thing that I found was a rather unrelated and kinda horrifying tale. In Iwate Prefecture, there was an old man gathering firewood when he heard a strange voice coming from a hole that whispered, "Bring me wood," which the old man did. But as soon as he did, he and that pile of wood was sucked into this hole, letting himself into a realm of fire. Now eventually he found a large house and within it, a great kami of immolation. And with gratitude for the wood, the kami gave the man a curious bundle, a baby boy named Hyotoko. And just like the well-known mask, Hyotoko had a bizarre face of uneven eyes, a big goofy nose, and a twisted, puckered mouth. But the old man took a liking to the boy and cared for him like his own son. However, that following summer, the old man noticed that Hyotoko's belly was starting to grow abnormally. Concerned for his son, the old man tapped the boy's belly with a pipe and a golden koban coin spurted out. And with each tap of that pipe, even more coins erupted, much to the delight of the old man's greedy wife. The old man, though, was far more concerned that Hyotoko's belly was going to pop, so he only tapped his pipe 3 times a day to keep the kid's belly from swelling too much. So yeah, we got kind of a golden goose situation going on here.
Wait, golden goose? Uh-oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah, the old man's wife was such a literal gold digger that while the old man was gone, she grabbed one of his pipes and pounded the belly of that poor kid relentlessly. Some versions say that Hyotoko was actually killed in that process, while others say the boy ran into the couple's fireplace and fled back to the realm of flame. Either way, utterly stricken with grief, the old man made a mask in the shape of the boy's face and hung it over his stove to remember him. And to this day, that mask is said to bring happiness and luck to the occupants of the house who hang that mask on their stoves and fireplaces.
So, what does the Japanese golden goose tail have to do with swordsmithing?
Well, what else is famous in Iwate?
Wait. Oh my god, really? Nambuteki?
Yup. So aside from a tale of greedy infanticide, Iwate is extremely well known for their metalworks of pots, kettles, and just about anything made of iron. Iwate was always known for having huge deposits of iron, with some of their mines dating all the way back to the Nara period. But come the Edo period, the Nambu clan, which ruled the area for centuries, gathered up the best metalworkers in the country and with their massive stockpile of iron, created the greatest premium cast iron items in the country, earning them the unique name of Nambuteki. So over time, through various other folk stories and cultural adaptations, including an Izumo Yasugi Bushi folk song that contextualized Hyotoko as a clown, these 2 famous aspects of Iwate merged into one, as Hyotoko became Hyotoko, Iwate's goofy-faced, silly-demeanored kami of fire and semi-mascot for the region's smithing that was second to none in Japan. So with the titular swordsmith village out of the way, let's talk about the Oni of the season thus far, because while a lot of references seem pretty obvious, there is a lot more going on here than most may realize. Like with this 3D rendered Piscine nightmare. Now, as soon as I saw this thing, I knew I've seen this thing somewhere before. A bug-eyed fish with human arms and legs, and then I remembered.
Fish face on legs! Yep.
But it wasn't just Monster Party. Freaking Pocky and Rocky had the exact same enemy, the Hashiritai. Both of these guys had human limbs on fish bodies, but after an hour of digging, I couldn't find any specific fish yokai that had the same characteristics. Everything was coming up Ningyo, but that creature has the human features at the other end. Human face and fish body.
I mean, it could be a Kingyo no Yurei, couldn't it?
A what?
A goldfish ghost. Yeah, it's an actual thing. Also known as Monohana no Yurei in relation to the long-winded folk story of love triangles and a brutal, horrible murder. If you want to read the whole story, I suggest you check it out at yokai.com, where Matthew Meyer has the whole story written out in full. But long, horrifying story short, Kingyo no Yurei are created when someone is killed in or around a goldfish bowl, with their enraged soul inhabiting the fish, with the possession causing physical mutations in the goldfish, giving the creature limbs, eyes, ears, and other random assortments of human-like characteristics. Basically a Piscean Onryo, and if you know anything about Onryo, you know they're the most dangerous Yurei in Japan's long lexicon of monsters and ghosts. And when you look back at Demon Slayer, oh yeah, they're definitely goldfish, but god dang if they are terrifying. I know the vases attached to their heads are an obvious connection to Gyoko, another Oni of this arc, but I wonder if this also isn't a reference to the bowl the OG Kingyo no Yurei was born from in the story of Monohana. After all, according to the tale, the goldfish was kept not in a glass bowl, but in an exquisite crystal aquarium.
Yeah, it's kinda open-ended. But with the main antagonist Oni of this arc thus far, man, there is no confusion as to what this guy's supposed to be. With every other demon we've covered on the show, there's always been some kind of a hint of ambiguity, but this guy, or should I say guys, it's no question. He's freaking named Han Tengu. And if that name didn't do it for you, the designs of these guys sure would. Han Tengu splits into different forms for each time he's decapitated, right? Well, just have a look at some of these alter egos. Sekido. Dude carries around a shakujo staff, a staff that Buddhist monks would use for self-defense and as a noisemaker in case someone in the area was in need of spiritual assistance. Something that is heavily associated with Tengu. Karaku. The guy carries around an Uchiwa fan able to create insane gusts of wind with a flip of the wrist, which is yet another obvious trope of Tengu that were said to control winds and weather with their Aralia Leaf Uchiwa fans. Though originally it just had the power to make people's noses longer, but regardless, he's also wearing a Shugendo Yuigeisa, a body strap that has 6 pom-pom-like puffs or brass balls that represent 6 forms of protection and virtue that Fudo Myo, a center deity of Shugendo, bestows on his followers. And this is yet not one, but 2 other things that Tengu are very, very closely associated with. Aizetsu, a sad boy who carries around a Chunmonchi 3-pronged Yari spear. Though I might be reaching a bit, I think he represents the Tengu's supernatural prowess when it comes to martial arts, who in turn trained dozens of Japan's best swordsmen like Minamoto no Yoshitsune. Urogi? He's literally just a Karasu Tengu. It doesn't get any more obvious than that. Being both half man and half bird with human limbs and a big old pair of avian wings on their backs. So Hakuten? Okay, you got me there. This one really isn't as much of a reference to Tengu as it is to Gaijin, one of my favorite yokai slash kami of all time. I mean, he's got the same rings of drums along his back, and the 2 twin bone shiv looking things in his hands, that's literally Gaijin's twin-headed rounded drum bachi. And then there's Urami, and we've gone full circle back to Han Tengu in terms of visual aesthetics. Now, at first when I saw these Tengu manifestations, I was like, alright, there's nothing really to discuss here. This is so overtly Tengu that most of my viewers will know this stuff right off the bat. But then something bigger clicked in my brain. All of Han Tengu's alter ego names are different emotional states and have those states inscribed on their tongues. Sekido is anger, Karaku is abundant pleasure, Aizetsu is sadness, Urogi is elation, Zohakuten hatred, Urami resentment, and Han Tengu, though different in name, represents fear. These are all not only personal emotional states, but negative emotional states. And it's this that makes them more Tengu than anything that they wear or use. Now, let me explain. In Buddhism, one strives to detach themselves from not all emotions, but emotions that cause suffering. It's a key component for the 4 noble truths. Existence contains suffering, suffering comes from our earthly attachment, suffering ends by detachment, and the detachment comes from the 8-fold path of all different kinds of rights. This is the core of Buddhism that's in many different sects and interpretations. But then there's Tengu-do. Tengu and their practice of Tengu-do, culturally speaking, are the antithesis of Buddhism and righteous Buddhist monks. It is a path of those who stray from selfless enlightenment and seek out a path that focuses on power, pride, and indulgence. Emotions and actions that revel in earthly spiritual attachment. However, it was a path that could never lead to enlightenment, only to a cursed realm of the afterlife. This is why Tengu are so often donned in and using the tools of Buddhists. They are deceivers, creatures who claim to bring limitless power and zen, but in truth only serve to corrupt the Dharma.
So, what, like Sith Jedi?
Exactly! And as various sects of Buddhism blossomed in Japan, rival sects would artistically depict said rivals in the guise of Tengu, claiming that their interpretations were incorrect, evil, and strayed from the quote, correct path to enlightenment. This is the great cultural connection of Han Tengu, and it's more abundant here than in anything that we visually see. Anger, hedonism, sadness, hatred, resentment, fear. These 6 emotions revolve around the self and the preservation thereof. But great suffering is forged through these emotions, either to oneself or to others. It's these kinds of emotions that Buddhism teaches to detach yourself from, and that Tengu-do teaches you to foster in order to obtain great power, and is the entire identity of Han Tengu and his various personalities. And I'm sure this is only the beginning. We're only into, what, episode 5 of this arc? There's a lot more story to go through and a lot more arcs to analyze, so I severely doubt we're anywhere close to being done. And we hope you'll be with us right here every step of the way. But for now, thanks for watching everyone, and a big thank you to my patrons who are cutting me some slack because I really only had time to do this one video. I am so sorry we couldn't spend a week to do the vote, but with this Japan trip coming up, I was just super crunched for time. So thanks for letting me roll with this tidbit of culture analysis that really got me super fired up. And if you get fired up from learning about Japan through your favorite games, movies, and shows, sub up and swing by every other weekend for a brand new culture and pop media video. But until next time everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.